What's the worst style choice you've ever made?
Fashion style or mead style?
Fashion.
Fashion style. I was born in 1970, so I did wear parachute pants at one point.
Like the MC Hammer ones?
Yes.
Are there pictures of that around somewhere? Or you just...
Not that I'll admit.
Okay.
There probably are, but...
Actually, mine isn't that far off. I'd have to go... Well, I mean, I was born in 83. But I think in high school, the Janko jean phase hit me hard. Like the excessively large, baggy pants.
Yeah.
I think that was probably a mistake, looking back.
Yeah, no doubt.
So with that, welcome to episode 27 of Stories from a Bar. I'm your host, Chris Osborne, and today I'm hanging out with Peter Voelker. Voelker. I apologize for not asking how to pronounce that before we started. That's the one thing I told myself to do, and I forgot. I took a drive out to the beautiful Helderberg Meadworks out here in Esperance, or Duanesburg, is it technically?
Mailing address is Esperance. We're still in Schenectady County physically.
So how are you today, Peter?
I'm doing wonderful.
Do you go by Peter or Pete?
Peter,
all right. So thanks for taking the time to sit down and chat. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming out.
I've been wanting to come out here for quite a while since I first started seeing this place pop up that the Taste Mead Hall here was opening. So I'm excited to finally be here and try all these meads.
Yeah.
I will say it's a little bit after 10:30 on a Sunday morning, and I'm drinking mead, so things are going pretty well.
That's your good morning breakfast.
It
right
is,
there.
and we've got 4 different meads lined up that we'll be talking about. And I have to say, I felt like I should have dressed like a Viking for this episode.
Yeah, we certainly have people that come in dressed like Vikings.
Do you really?
Yeah, we do.
A lot of good costumes that roll through here.
Some good, some not good, but yeah, we do. But it's all in good fun.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, I had never actually tried mead until last week.
Okay, and was it our mead or someone else's?
It was your mead. Luckily, there's a liquor store by me that had some of your stuff on the shelf, like 4 or 5 different bottles. I was actually surprised. So I had picked up a bottle of the Heritage, I believe it was.
Yep.
And I have to say, it was not quite what I was expecting. It was a little lighter than I thought it would be, and not as sweet.
Okay, good.
I mean, it was still delicious.
Yeah.
But, of course, all my mead experience comes from watching medieval times type shows where,
And the way we make our mead, it's a little bit different than most of the common mead that you're going to find out there. You know, we have dry meads, we have sweet meads, we have Heritage, which is overall our bestseller, and that is kind of in between all of that. And we also oak age our Heritage in maple, so
nice.
It's got a little bit of a twist to it, and the way I do the fermentation and the aging gives it a lot of depth, a lot of character, and a lot of different angles to the flavors.
Interesting. Well, why don't we start off with our flights here?
Okay.
And tell me a little bit about what this guy is.
So the first one we have on our list here is called Odin's Tears.
And I love the name. That might be my favorite name. I'm not sure yet. I have to decide on that one.
And
that's nice and smooth, that's for sure.
Yes. And that one, that's our dry mead. It's about 14% alcohol. And it is made using the same honey I use for everything.
But that is another thing I underestimated was the alcohol content.
Yeah. So, with that said, 14 is around average for us.
Okay.
We go a little bit lighter than that, and we go a lot higher than that. So, our maple, for example, is 17% alcohol. So, the Odin's Tears, it's fermented dry, and that's all we do to it. We just ferment it dry and leave it. We don't touch it. We let it clear, and we bottle it just like that. So it's really a pure dry mead. And you get all the flavor, all the body of the honey, but you don't have any sugar sweetness.
It is quite good.
There are a lot of people that do keto and paleo diets, and they definitely flock to both the apple mead and the Odin's Tears.
Do they really?
Yes.
So it's good for dieting, is what you're telling me.
I'm saying it's 0 sugar.
Okay. If you want to lose weight, drink mead.
Yes.
What are people's reactions when you meet someone, like a new people, and say you make mead?
Most of the time, they don't know what mead is. It's a learning experience.
It is.
And we teach a lot of people. We do a lot of teaching. And some people don't really or never really thought that you can ferment honey.
No, and that's just as I mentioned, a lot of my mead experience comes from watching basically TV and movies. I imagine that's most people's.
Yeah, and with the popularity of Game of Thrones and Vikings and things like that, a lot more people are.
And we'll be talking about all the drinking horns around here too, because they're just awesome. But yes.
Yeah, so it's gaining a lot more visibility because of that.
That is pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah,
Obviously breweries and distilleries are popping up everywhere.
they are.
And now meaderies, probably a drink even older than beer.
The oldest discovered alcohol was a honey fermented beverage.
Yeah.
So that was about 7,000 years ago that we know of in China.
Interesting.
And they were probably doing it before that. This is just the oldest discovered.
So when people, after they get over the initial mead, what's that? What do you tell them mead actually is?
Depending on where we are and what the person already knows, I might explain it as a honey wine. Mm-hmm. So that, you make that connection to the alcohol level and the flavor and the process of wine.
Yeah.
Because it's not brewed, it's fermented like you would ferment a wine or grape juice. So I might take that approach, or I could just tell them that it's fermented honey and explain that, okay, people hear honey and they immediately think sweet.
Yeah. That's why, like I said, I was surprised when I tried the Heritage. I'm like, oh, I thought this would be a little sweeter.
Right. And it doesn't have to be. So, the explanation can go, all right, you've had a dry red wine, you've had red grape juice. So, there's your correlation because the grape juice is sweet and the wine is dry.
Yeah.
We like to kind of blow people's minds by having dry stuff like that.
So, how does the mead making process work? Obviously, I'm more familiar with beer, so this is all new to me.
It's actually pretty easy. It's very easy to make mead. Not easy to make good mead, but it's very easy to make mead. You take honey and you mix it with water and you throw in some yeast and let it ferment. And then you have mead.
All right. That's simple enough.
That's the easy way.
How long does fermenting usually take? Does it depend on the type of mead you're trying to do? Or?
It does. It depends on the type of yeast that you use for fermentation. Our feral mead is a wild strain of yeast that I captured from the air and cultivated, and I use that for the fermentation, and it's a slow process. It takes a good 3 to 4 months to ferment a 600-gallon batch.
Oh, wow.
But something like, the other meads that I do, that is a commercial strain of yeast, wine yeast, and that will ferment out in 2 weeks or so.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely a big difference.
Yeah. Yeah, much more active yeast, but it's a commercial wine yeast. So, they're designed to do that for wineries.
Interesting. Are you able to get all your honey and ingredients from the local area?
Absolutely. Everything, 95% of everything comes from within 30 miles. Our currants, black currant, they come from the Hudson Valley.
That's fantastic.
So still New York.
Yeah.
And the cherries for our cherry vanilla and our cherry cider come from near Buffalo, western New York.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I know New York's ranked pretty high in honey production, actually. So.
Yes, absolutely. I've been using the same honey supplier since I started, and he is actually probably 15 miles from here.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Yep.
When it comes to making a new batch of mead, what are the usual general challenges or biggest issues?
The biggest challenges are time of year.
Okay.
So I really have trouble doing this in the summertime because when you have an active fermentation of that size, it generates its own heat. So I need to keep the temperatures cool when I ferment, keep them under 70. So in the summertime, it's a little difficult to do that because, I have air conditioning, but it's hard to keep the air conditioning at 60 in the summertime without eating up a ton of energy.
But not something I would have thought of, yeah.
Yeah. So, I do have cooling coils that I could put in, and they work very well. It's just more of a pain. I'd rather do the actual fermentation this time of year.
Interesting. So do you have your own apiarist? You have no idea how long I've wanted to use that word in conversation. Of course means beekeeper.
Yes, it does. We do. when I first started, I reached out to a bunch of local beekeepers, and the resources for contacting beekeepers were not as thorough as they are today. So turns out a lot of the ones I was reaching out to, they had honey farms, but they were very small. So I wanted to buy a 55-gallon drum of it, and most of them said that's my entire year's supply.
Wow.
Oh, all right.
It's not as easy as flipping through the yellow pages trying to find beekeeper or apiarist.
Well, it was that easy, but that's the answer
right.
I got.
So you had an issue because it was usually smaller type.
They were smaller
collection.
home farm type businesses, yes. But I ran into my honey supplier and been working with him ever since.
Nice. Obviously, over the last few years, like bee populations have been a real concern.
Yes.
Is that something you guys in the meat industry keep track of, or is it affecting you at all?
We definitely keep track of it. It must have some effect on us, in one way or another, whether it's honey prices or things like that. For me, it has not had an effect because my honey supplier is very diligent about his bees. So he does not have die-off.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, he takes good care of them. So, yeah, it has not affected me personally. But believe me, the whole mead industry is very in tune to CCD, colony collapse disorder.
Yeah.
Yeah, we watch it. We promote bee health. We try very hard to seek out and use honey suppliers that are careful with their bees. Mm-hmm. So it's a big deal to us.
Have you been stung by bees?
I have. I'm allergic to them.
Are you really?
Yes.
What was your worst bee sting?
My worst bee sting was probably a yellow jacket, and actually it was a bald-faced hornet in a ground nest.
Oh,
that I mowed over.
Wow, that sounds painful.
That was painful. It was.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I was walking my dog years ago, and when we lived in this particular apartment complex, nice grass area behind the building. So I'm out there walking the dog, but I was wearing flip-flops because it's summer.
Yeah.
And there's kids out playing. I caught a bee flew like under my big toe and got caught and stung me under my big toe.
Oh, that's a bad place.
And as I yelled obscenities, I have kids looking at me. The dog's just going about his business, of course.
The dog doesn't care.
No. Why don't we talk about this next mead here?
Sure. So this is our apple mead.
I'm excited to try this one. I'm a big cider fan, and I'm curious how similar this is and what the differences are.
Take a sip. Let me know what you think.
Very good. It's definitely not cidery. That cidery to me.
Right. Yep. It's a blend. It's about 2/3 mead, 1/3 cider.
Okay.
And this is made. I get my fresh pressed cider from Indian Ladder Farms. And
Great place.
Great place, absolutely. Great people to work with.
Yep.
So I get my cider from them, and I make hard cider out of that, and use a very specific yeast for that, just to make sure I got the flavor that I like. And I ferment that dry. Has to age for at least 6 months.
Okay.
Because there's always some unique flavors that come from fermenting the apples, and when you let it age, it smooths out, and at 6 months or so, it ends up being really, really good, and that's what you're
this
drinking
is
here.
Nice and smooth. I can easily sit there and sip on this for a while.
Yeah. And this is another completely dry one. No residual sugar.
And even when you say dry, it's not overly dry by any means, I think.
So there's perception, and then there's sugar content.
Yeah.
I can tell you this has 0 sugar. So that
Again, if you're on a diet and looking to get hammered.
correct. If you eat keto or paleo, this is your way to go. But the honey brings a lot of body to it, so it doesn't drink like it's so dry. It feels nice and full-bodied. The cider actually is bringing that down a little bit from the Odin's Tears. The Odin's Tears may have a little bit more fullness to it, but this is very, very easy drinking. When we do a festival, and we do a lot of wine festivals, so we're aware of the fact that people are going around tasting all kinds of wine.
Yeah.
And if they come to our table and we hit them with an Odin's Tears, they're going to run scared. So something like an apple or the next one, a staghorn, is a really good introduction for them. So if they like a dry white, like a dry Riesling or something, we'll hit them with the apple first. So it kind of introduces them to our flavors.
I can see that, yeah. You mentioned some festivals, and I noticed some medals hanging over there.
Yes.
And we were talking earlier on. So mead is it's a kind of a pain in the ass to submit it to festivals.
Mead is a little bit of an outlier. There are some mead competitions out there, mead specific, and that's wonderful. There's more popping up. I do have a medal. It's not on display here, but I have it back at the production facility from a actual mead competition. Mm-hmm. So we were proud of that. But we selectively submit our meads to competitions because federally, mead falls in the wine category. Yeah. So you have to submit it as a wine. And when you submit it to a wine competition, the judges are excellent at tasting and judging wines. They may not be as familiar with mead as they are with wine. So sending a mead like our heritage mead into a wine competition is almost an instant lose situation. So it's not worth the time or the effort to do it.
That is interesting. Yeah.
But the judges, you look for competitions where you see a lot of different types of products.
Yeah.
If I send it to the San Francisco International Wine Competition, it probably has no chance. So I'm not going to do that. But if I send it to, say, the Great Northeast Wine Competition, and they have a lot of variety to what they're judging, they have a variety of categories, much more so than a typical wine competition, then I'll send it to them because they're looking at outside products too.
Interesting. And which is the one that you mentioned won the double medal there?
So our Cherry Vanilla, we did choose to send that one into the Great Northeast Wine Competition. And to my delight and surprise, we didn't just win a gold medal. We won double gold, which means every judge gave it a gold medal.
It's fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you. And they also gave us the best New York wine of the entire competition.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And they also gave us the best fruit wine of the competition. So
really cleaned up.
Yes, absolutely. And they actually called me to ask me about the vanilla in it because they had one more award that they could have given me if the vanilla beans came from New York State.
Oh.
So if anyone out there knows a New York State vanilla bean farm, please let us know. But I don't think they exist.
I can't say that I've heard of one, no. They could be out there, though. So you mentioned a production facility. We are at the mead hall, you guys. How long has the mead hall tasting room here been open?
So we opened the doors December 11th of 2000. We opened the doors December 13th of 2018.
So a little over a year.
Yes.
Nice. How's it been going so far?
It's been way different and way better than we had ever expected.
I love the look of this place because it's just Vikinged out with, of course, the drinking horns. There's like a giant 4-foot one up there. That's awesome. And even better is just the general setting around the building. You guys are basically in the mountains, surrounded by trees and open land.
Yeah, yes, we love it.
It's an awesome setting, and I definitely need to come back when it's warm out.
The sun sets right over that.
It was a beautiful drive out here. It was like a half hour because the sun's out, but it's winter and it's cold.
So just to touch on the Viking theme a little bit, we decided when we were starting the meadery to begin with 10 years ago that we wanted to go with the Viking theme because I'm a descendant of the first king of Norway, King Harald.
Are you really?
Fairhair. Yes.
That's amazing.
So, it's a natural...
Is that something you just discovered one day earlier on, or is that something...
Well, my grandmother's maiden name is Schönhaar, which is German for beautiful hair.
Okay.
And I have a relative who is in Europe, and he traced our family lineage as far back as records go, and the name as it gets out of Germany and the direction that it goes is all to Scandinavia with King Harald Fairhair.
Interesting.
So it's a natural thing.
So there's a reason behind the Vikingness.
There is, absolutely.
Where's you don't actually make the mead here. This is just the tasting room. Where's your production facility?
It's still in Duanesburg.
Okay.
Yes. So it's about 10 minutes away from here.
Oh, all right. Well, that's super convenient.
Yeah, it is.
Something I didn't know is you've had products out and available for
8 years.
8 years?
Yes.
Was that prior to opening the tasting room?
Way prior. Yep.
Because like I said, I only had mead like last week, and I didn't even honestly know about your Meadworks until this place opened a year ago.
Yeah, and that's been a common theme that we've heard from people that have been here. We've been doing festivals. We've been doing wholesale. Before we opened the tasting room, we were up to over 200 stores in New York. So it's been out there for a while. We started with a 10-year business plan when we opened, and in year 2, we were way past our 10-year point.
Oh, wow.
And we hadn't planned on opening a tasting room for another probably 10 years. But the opportunity is here. The popularity is here. So we're opportunists, and we jumped on it.
It's interesting because it's kind of like the reverse that you see most breweries or distilleries kind of go with, because they have that tasting room immediately and then kind of have to expand out into wholesale.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it was just easier to start the production. Because we started really, really small. And I did all the legal work myself. I studied up and did that. And I did not take out any loans. It's all my own money that I invested in it. So we thought, all right, we'll start small. Then we ended up hitting the front page of the Gazette and kind of took off from there. We went from 12 stores to 60 stores.
Wow.
And then I was doing it all myself. My wife was helping on the production side, and we also had our first kid back when we first started, so it was a little difficult. We ended up picking up a distributor, so that helped a lot, and just kept riding that.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
So what's this third mead we've got going here?
So this third one, we call it Staghorn, and it's made with sumac.
Interesting smell. I like that. That one definitely feels more fuller to me.
This one is a little bit sweeter. There's a little bit more honey, residual honey. And the citrus, the acidity that you get from this is from the sumac. And when I wanted to come out with something just for the tasting room, I was looking at, what indigenous ingredients do we have around here? What do we have that people aren't really using? What do we have that I can just go and forage and get? And come to realize that all the sumac that you see along the side of the road is not poisonous, not at all.
I totally forgot about poison sumac. Yeah.
We get people all the time. Is that poison? No, it isn't.
Be an interesting marketing gimmick.
And you can see we've got some sumac just sitting on the bar.
That's right.
The red pods that you see.
Yeah.
So, I'm able to go into my backyard and forage and harvest the sumac, and we use that to make the sumac mead.
Interesting.
It brings a lemon kind of citrus flavor to it.
It does. It's quite delicious.
This is one for people that are wine fans also.
But I'm a wine fan. I noticed pulling up, it looks like you have you're trying to grow some ingredients out there. What are you trying to do out there?
Yes, so we did plant a vineyard also. It's a small vineyard right now. We're going to keep expanding it. We've got about 200 grapevines.
Oh, wow.
We've got 5 different kinds of grapes. And I'm also planting fruit trees. So we want to do some other unique native New York type ingredients.
It didn't take me long from doing this podcast to realize that, there's a lot of breweries and things like craft beverage places opening up, but they're also, a lot of them are trying to grow their own ingredients, which I think is fascinating and awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of natural to do that, I think, because assuming you have pride in your product, you want to have pride in what goes into it also. And to me, there's no better feeling than growing your own grapes, crushing them yourself, and making your own grape honey mead, a piment.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be hopefully on tap for the end of this year.
Interesting. What's required in New York for opening a meadery? Is it basically similar to trying to get a license for a brewery or distillery or anything like that?
It all depends. There's a couple of different ways you can go about it.
It's only been a couple of years since meadery licenses were available, or am I wrong?
Just this year.
Okay.
So up until this year in New York State, you had to be licensed as a winery.
Okay.
So, and federally, even today, you're still considered a winery, and that totally has to do with how you produce the mead.
Interesting.
Because there's no brewing, there's no grains. It's just a straight fermentation, just like you would do with grape juice. So the method of production is very close to wine.
Okay.
So federally, you're still a wine. In New York, you can be a winery, you can be a farm winery, and you can be a meadery. So you can take your pick of those. And you could also be a micro winery.
Okay.
Yeah, I can bore you with some of the legalities.
No, that's all right. I was mainly just curious on the process there.
Yeah.
How did you end up settling on the name Helderberg Meadworks?
Well, I wanted a local name.
Yeah.
And this was, before Helderberg Brewery. This was before Helderberg Mountain Brewery. And I wanted to use a local name, Duanesburg. Just as proud as I am to live in Duanesburg, the name doesn't really ring well for stores out in Buffalo or up in Lake Placid or wherever. So I looked for a little bit more of a majestic local name.
All right.
And we have the Helderberg Escarpment. We have the Helderberg Mountains.
Yep.
So I ran with Helderberg.
It's a perfect setting to go with the name.
Yes.
You're surrounded by mountains and just open land, and it's beautiful. You built this building from scratch, right?
Yep. This was when we bought this land, it was former pasture. So there was an old farm here. It was the old McDuffie farm. And we actually got to be friends with the people who inherited the farm. Great people. So the land here was former pasture, way overgrown. So the last time this land was used was like 50 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So, we saw the land, could barely walk up to the peak where we're sitting right now, but we knew this was a beautiful spot. It had the right exposure. We're pretty much southwest facing on the slope. We saw it, fell in love with it. It was close enough to our home. So
super convenient.
It was. Had some friends come and help us out. We clear cut everything. And then the only thing we decided to farm out was really the insulation here. I mean, the building's a Morton building. They built this. They did a fantastic job.
Yep.
And we also had them do all the insulation. So I wasn't going to mess with the fiberglass. Everything else, interior here, we did ourselves.
It's awesome. Like I said, it looks awesome. I love the rustic, modern feel to it.
That's absolutely, thank you. You nailed it.
And of course, you can't go wrong with swords on the wall. So that's great.
Swords, skulls, drinking horns.
Skulls everywhere. I love the drinking horns. I'm going to have to pick up a drinking horn to take home with me for sure.
And we've also got some pelts and hides coming.
As I joked about when I told people I was coming to the meadery, I feel like I needed a skull of an enemy to drink my mead out of to really get the full effect.
Yeah, we do have a couple smaller skulls we could bring over, put on the table.
So who ended up designing the horn cups and these giant horns?
We actually work with an overseas company that does it. Yeah. Yep. It's a byproduct of the meat industry, so it's not like any animals are killed for their horns.
It's definitely, that's definitely good to know.
No, we were very clear about that.
Yeah.
We're not hunters ourselves, but we're certainly not oblivious to where meat comes from. So any part of the animal that can be used, we're happy to help use that as long as it's not the reason that they're killing the cows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What was it about mead that appealed to you so much? How did you end up getting into it?
So we talked a little bit earlier. I graduated from RPI, nuclear engineer.
That's true. You're a busy guy. You are a busy guy.
In 1992, when I graduated, the nuclear industry was just collapsing at that time, and I really could not get a job. So I was home for a year. I started doing my own home brew. So I started doing beer first, and realized that for beer, you really have to go all grain if you're going to do good beer, at least back then. I think the malt industry has progressed now.
Yeah, but like you said, it's easy to make. It's easy to make beer mead. It's difficult to do it well.
That's right. So I said, all right, what else can I do? I didn't want to do wine. There's so much wine out there. It wasn't legal to distill. So I decided, all right, there's mead. And I started with that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How'd your first few batches come out?
So
I like the hesitation.
Yeah. A week or two ago, we had a staff meeting here. And, us, and we've got 12 employees working for us now. So almost everybody was here.
That's amazing that within the year of having the mead hall open that you're able to have that many people.
It's been a crazy year. It really has.
It kind of blew up when you opened the tasting room, right?
It did. So, on a tangent, we decided, all right.
Tangents are welcome.
We opened the doors December 13th and decided in the spring we were going to extend some hours. And my wife and I were doing this pretty much ourselves. We had one or two people that were helping us out. And we needed to hire somebody. So we put a job ad out, and we got 30 to 40 people apply.
Holy shit.
That's what we said. So we picked people and started interviewing, and we did a good job choosing people because we interviewed, I think, 5 people.
Yep.
And ended up hiring all 5.
Oh.
And we needed that, which we didn't realize we needed, and we actually needed that and then some. So just a couple of weeks ago, we hired 6 more. So we did all of that hiring, and we've got a great group of people. My wife and I even, in one interview last year, once the person left, we high-fived each other. We were like, yeah, this is good.
I'm curious, did they come in here knowing what mead was?
Yes.
Okay. I imagine that's a prerequisite, at least. Have an idea of what it is.
If you're going to apply for a job, if you don't do some research and you come in and you don't even know what mead is, we're not going to hire you. You got to be diligent about it. You got to know it. You have time to study. You better study up.
Yeah.
We have fun here, but we're also professional about what we do.
Good. Was it tough trying to come up when you were building this place with like the design and how you wanted it to look?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
That was quick.
I had it all in my mind. I knew what I wanted. There was no question at all.
Why don't we talk about a little bit about this last guy here on the flight? I believe this was the hot pepper one, right?
Yep. This is our pepper mead.
And this is what was recommended to me on Facebook, actually.
Awesome.
When I posted about it.
So we decided to come out with a pepper mead, and I'm the mead maker. So I did some trials, and it was very, very surprising how the trials came out. I surprised myself with it even.
Oh, wow.
I said that myself.
It's got spice, but not so much in the flavor. It still has a good mead wine type flavor.
So I wanted to get like almost a jalapeno level of spiciness. Mm-hmm. So I would say we're at 15 to 20,000 Scoville.
Pipe.
But I don't use any
Spicy.
jalapenos in it. We went with 3 peppers blended so that we get a rounded flavor. You have 1 pepper that cuts through, which I think you found.
I think I found that pepper, and I'm kind of glad I have a little left over from my other samples here to kind of chase that with.
But this is one where people try it and they go, "Oh, wow," because it's so surprising. It's not. I could have done ghost peppers. I could have done habaneros. But
oh God,
I don't want to kill someone. I want
or
to
your
drink
bathroom
a glass.
afterwards.
Yes. So I made it so it's completely drinkable.
It is pretty drinkable as long as you can
Tolerate a little heat.
tolerate your heat. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because I've definitely noticed a lot more of, not a lot, but an increasing amount of like the jalapeno pepper type beers coming out over the last year.
I've seen them, I've tried them, and there's a reason why I didn't make a jalapeno mead.
Yeah.
And it's just too singular of a flavor. With 3 peppers, you get the blend, you get so much more interest, so much more flavor and character than going with a single common pepper.
This is not one I will forget, that is for sure. Do you have a preferred method when you drink your mead, or just whatever?
I have a preferred method of presenting my mead to customers, for sure. For me, I've had so much mead that I'm intimately familiar with the flavors. If I happen to drink it out of one of my horn cups and it's at room temperature, that's fine with me. If it's even warm from sitting outside in the summertime, it's okay with me. But when it comes to presenting it to customers, we try to aim for cellar temperature. So 55 to 60 degrees is really ideal. It brings out a lot of the different flavors. So there's certainly a reason why red wines are typically served at that temperature.
Yeah.
And to me, the same thing holds true for mead. But at the same time, we are very open-minded, and we have one person that works for us. She absolutely loves our sweet farrell now that she has chilled it. It wasn't her favorite before. She had a different favorite, but since she chilled it, absolutely loves it. So it's open-minded.
You guys do a lot of mead-based cocktails too, right?
We do a cocktail of the month every month.
Because obviously following your Instagram there, those cocktails look pretty impressive and quite delicious.
They certainly are. And
in fact, I think the most recent one I saw had the roasted marshmallow on the rim.
That was just come up with yesterday.
Oh, all right.
Yes. And this being March 1st, today's the first day we're going to have it available.
Awesome.
Yeah. We have one person that works for us, Taylor. She came to us with a lot of cocktail experience, a lot of good flavor experience with a great palate. And me being more of a mead purist, but open-minded, she opened my mind to cocktails, and just about every cocktail that's come through here has been amazing.
Have you had a favorite one? It's a thinker.
I've had a number of favorites. Seriously, the warm spiced meads, like we did a cocktail called M5. That was actually one I created, and the best warmed mulled mead that I've ever made.
Really?
It was amazing.
I still haven't actually had warmed or mulled wine or mead.
We can change that today. I
okay.
have some.
I'm happy to try it, that's for sure. I don't say no to much.
Yeah, we do have some of last month's cocktail that's still warm, so we'll do that after the podcast. This month we've got Drog, which is the cocoa and black currant.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And other than that, we had a smoked cocktail that was absolutely insane. It was awesome. It was.
It's interesting because it's another aspect for people to check out other than just specific mead.
Yeah.
Only.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we love doing that. Customers love it.
And it's different than your normal, of course, beer or liquor place just to go and hang out.
We want to make it interesting for people. We want to have something that changes up frequently. So, a customer can come here one month and come here the next month, and they've got something different to try.
Yeah. What's been your favorite mead that you've made? Do you have a favorite?
I love all of my children.
I was just going to say, is it I love all my children? Secretly, there's a favorite, but I love all my children?
I love all my meads for different reasons. So my wife and I have pretty much been zero sugar for the past 6 months. So Odin's Tears and Apple have been our favorites.
So your diet forced you to create booze you can drink in that effect. That's what I'm hearing.
Aside from that, I absolutely love the pepper. I do.
Pepper is really good. The more I'm drinking, I mean, yeah, that spice is still there.
It is.
But it has a nice flavor, and it's definitely drinkable.
Yeah. And I'm super proud of our hard ciders.
That's interesting. Obviously, you started with honey base and mead. Cider seem like a natural transition or something to get into after you started making some meads?
This is an interesting story. I made the hard cider so that I could make my apple mead.
Okay.
So, I used the cider with the apple mead, and I was doing apple mead for years. It was the second product I came out with after the Heritage. And when I was making the arrangements for doing a maple mead, again, another indigenous ingredient, we became friends with the couple that owns Wilderhook Maple Farm. And they are both gluten-free, not intentionally, but allergically, they have to be gluten-free. And because of that, they were big cider fans. So one day when they were bringing me the maple syrup to use in my maple mead, I was telling him about that, the apple, and he wanted to try it from the tank. So, well, okay. Why not? Sure. So I tapped off the tank, and he said pretty much, "Oh my God, why aren't you selling this?"
Oh, wow.
And that was the start of it, got me thinking, and then ramping up production to be able to do the cider. And it was them that really prompted that. And as I've been doing cider, and as I've had cider here, and I've been trying a lot of ciders out there, I personally feel that mine is the best tasting.
Awesome.
And I'm not just saying that as a salesman.
I know, I don't remember if we did it before or after I started recording. You guys also make braggot. What exactly is braggot?
So a braggot is a beer mead hybrid.
Did you team up with Brown's Brewing in Troy for this?
We did. Yes. Okay. So some of the legal quirks. A meadery is a winery, and we're not allowed to do anything with grains. Federal law. Can't change it. So you have to team up with a brewery if you want to do a braggot.
Interesting.
Yes. So technically, the braggot that we have on tap here is a Brown's Brewing product that we're selling, but it was a full-on collaboration. The one we have available right now is called Braggoting Rights, because we felt we had bragging rights on this.
Perfect name.
Yes.
I love puns.
And that one is about 12% alcohol. And we aged that in, I believe, 7 different barrels and blended them together. It's heavy on the rye. It's a little bit spicy.
Interesting.
Very, very interesting flavor. It's perfect for winter.
Keeps the insides nice and warm.
Yes.
Just like this pepper mead is doing.
I'm sipping on it.
So, and also, what exactly is switchel?
So switchel.
For anyone that might not know, like myself.
We were calling it an old school energy drink, but people immediately, their heads go to Red Bull and Monster. This was an old farmer's drink. So they would bring this out into the fields in the early 1900s when they were working the fields. It's basically vinegar, ginger, water, and some type of sweetener to balance it out. Whether it was maple syrup or honey is up to the person making it.
And that's lighter on the alcohol content, right?
This one, we have it at less than 1%. I haven't sent it out to be tested to verify whether or not it is 0 or it is not. So, and it's very refreshing.
Awesome.
Very refreshing.
So do you have future plans for the meadery and the meat hall here?
We definitely do. We've got a lot of future plans. We've got events.
Some new flavors cooking up or anything?
I do. And I have one in the kegerator that we can try off the air.
Fantastic.
Yes. That will be actually launched for our 1-year anniversary celebration that we're doing in May, on May 9th.
Awesome.
That was not officially our 1 year from December, but we didn't want to do a celebration in the middle of winter.
As long as there's booze, people don't care.
That's right. So we're going to release that one for our 1 year anniversary. And then for National Mead Day in August, I have another special that we're coming out with.
I didn't know there was a National Mead Day. I probably should have.
First Saturday in August.
Okay, that's good
Hopefully
to know.
you'll be here.
Absolutely. Why not?
Yeah, we do a big bash on that event.
Awesome.
Yes.
What are some of your interests outside of the meadery then? I know obviously you're a nuclear engineer. How'd you end up getting into nuclear engineering or settling on that as for school?
Probably goes back to high school study hall where I was reading up on nuclear power in the library for what random reason I can't tell you, but and I really fell in love with nuclear power. I feel like it absolutely has a future in the world as long as it's done right.
Yeah.
It is, in today's climate change world and carbon aware society, it's a carbon-free source of power. And I don't believe there's a single source of power that needs to be exclusively used, but I believe that we need to have a balance of different technologies. And nuclear needs to have a future, and I still believe it has a future.
Interesting.
In the right way.
Yeah.
So, I started there, and from there I was not able to get a job because the industry had collapsed, and went back and got my civil engineering degree.
Okay.
So started working in that field, ended up doing more process engineering and plant engineering, ended up going from there to GE, doing controls engineering, designing control systems for power plants, and now I'm working at a power plant for my day job.
Nice. And what do you like to do for fun?
So for fun...
when you're not making mead and nuclear engineering.
As dry as this sounds, I do love to study. I'm a big fan of...
Are you a history buff, Viking-wise at least? Viking history or anything like that?
I'm a big believer in studying the real truth of history.
Yep.
Because history was written by the winners, not the losers. So...
That is an interesting
Look
point.
beyond what you're taught. And I do a lot of studying on, not tinfoil hat type history. But,
keep the aliens out, tinfoil hat.
But, the real history behind what we're taught.
Yeah.
Christopher Columbus discovered America. Well, did he really? Or had the Norse been out here before him?
Yeah.
And what evidence is there? There was a Norse settlement found in Nova Scotia that predates him. So studying up on those kinds of things really interests me. Music is a big passion of mine.
Nice.
I had been in a few
Two of my
cover
favorite
bands.
things are booze and music.
Absolutely. So I'm an amateur self-taught musician, been in a few bands in the past, cover bands, and we always have music playing here at the Mead Hall. My selection of music, I do like a wide variety, but we chose something that's probably fairly universal, but on the heavier side. And I still love music. We still love concerts. We have 2 children, and our older son is now starting to go to concerts with us, and they're both big music fans.
Awesome.
Too.
All right. So I think that's going to do it for this episode.
All right. Excellent.
A big thank you, Peter, for joining me and hanging out and sharing some mead with me. This stuff has been absolutely delicious, so I'm confident I will leave with a bottle.
Excellent.
Of something else.
We're happy to have you here. We're glad.
Oh, yeah, and I'm definitely excited to come back when the weather's nice and we can open the doors. And because, like I said, it's just beautiful around here with like the trees and kind of secluded.
Yeah, wait till you see what the landscaping is going to be for our grand opening anniversary.
I'm looking forward to that as well. You can, of course, check out Helderberg's Meadwork website at helderbergmeadworks.com to learn a little bit more about their products and where they're available. Check your local liquor stores as well. And be sure to like and follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to keep tabs on the awesome stuff they have going on. Anything else you want to throw in?
I think that covers it.
Excellent. A big thank you to everyone out there for checking out the show. Be sure to like and follow Stories from a Bar on Facebook, as well as the show on Instagram and Twitter at StoriesFAB. You can, of course, find the show on Apple and Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, and even more importantly, leave a fantastic review. Help spread the word. So until next time, cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.